Andrew Zaragoza asks, how do you achieve the photo of a person holding a flashlight pointed up to where you get the person, stars, and the beam of light all in one shots? He's assuming that it would be a composite kind of deal, but he's never done it before. So Nick and I have both done this, I'm sure, a lot of times. And sometimes I've found that it works really well, and sometimes you try it and it just doesn't really work at all. And so I think two things that have really helped when I've tried to do this are, one, it's got to be dark outside, and you've got to have a bright light to really show that beam. And then the other thing is if you get some kind of something in the air, if it's a really dusty place or something like that, it can really help.
Yep. And that's exactly when it's worked the best for me, is like here in the Pacific Northwest, every summer we've been having lots of forest fires, and that leads to really hazy skies. And so we've got a couple shots to look at here that basically all it was there had been forest fires and there was lots of haze and smoke in the sky. And it's just me holding a flashlight up. I think settings are like ISO 6400 for 25 seconds, f2.8. And the hardest part of these is staying still for that long. Usually you end up with a really blurry, shaky figure when you do those kind of shots. But if you can hold still enough, they're pretty cool. It's one of those go-to things for me anytime that I don't have a foreground, but I've got a cool set of stars. Like I at least have to get the epic selfie of, pointing the flashlight up into the sky, the world's largest lightsaber. But really that's the key to the whole thing, is having enough particulates of some kind in the sky, whether it's mist from the ocean or smoke or something like that, dirt. That's what'll make that beam show up in the shot.
Yeah, and the other thing that I found that helps is if you get a flashlight that can zoom. I have several of them here that I bought for light painting. You can find them on Amazon. I can link you over to a couple in the description as well. But basically, a lot of flashlights do this, where you can just pull the front of the lens up of the flashlight, and it'll constrict the beam of the flashlight. And then it makes the beam a lot brighter because it's not fanned out over a huge area. So I recently bought a headlamp that I love for this. It's awesome. You've seen landscape photos like this where somebody's wearing a headlamp kind of looking at. I think it looks a lot more natural than like somebody holding up a flashlight looks like a lightsaber. This is a headlamp that's zoomable, crazy bright, and takes AA batteries, which is what I use for all my photography stuff. So I hate when almost every headlamp takes AAAs, and so when it runs out, it's like, I don't want to carry AAAs too. So anyway, go to improvephotography.com/headlamp, and I'll link you over to that. I think it was like $10 on Amazon. It was some no-name brand, but it's a good one for doing this.
Yeah, and something to not overlook is taking speed lights out for this. If you crank down the power of your speed light down to like 1/128th of a second or so, it's really cool to add kind of the backlit effect. You can throw it way back behind your subject or yourself or whatever, and then just create a silhouette by backlighting whatever your subject is. And it's nice because you can still freeze the action like that. So if you wanted to get some kind of levitating human shot, you could do that just by timing your jump. And if you had the trigger in your hand, you jump up in the air, you hit the trigger, and then the person's going to be frozen like that. So speedlights work pretty well for doing these night shots as well.
Great tip, and good luck to you in trying to make this shot.